The feed crackled to life across 1,000 worlds. On every outpost, in every starport, from the frozen moons of Arkenfall to the glittering towers of the core realms, the execution was broadcast without delay or distortion. It was meant to be a spectacle, final, flawless, imperial. She stood in the center of a steel platform surrounded by an honor guard of imperial sentinels. Her hands were bound behind her back, feet shackled, eyes lifted to the dark heavens. The gallows weren't crude. They were a polished arch of carbon alloy, hovering with anti-grav stabilization to emphasize the elegance of dominion. No ropes, no blades, just a beam of disintegration, silent, clinical, absolute. The woman was earthborn, mid-30s, gaunt from captivity but upright with eerie poise. Her name was Lena Voss, but the Empire never spoke it. She was catalogued as Human Anomaly 8472, a captured insurgent, leader of an obsolete rebellion, and now a lesson. Her file was sealed even from most of the Galactic Council. The public only knew this. She resisted when humanity had surrendered. And now she would die for it. The Emperor himself appeared as a shimmering projection above the gallows. Towering, his exoskeletal frame gleamed under ceremonial plating. For eyes, too vertical, too horizontal, scanned the audience, not for emotion but for weakness. He began the speech he had delivered 1,000 times before. This is the fate of those who defy unity. His voice, processed and amplified, echoed across the stars. It vibrated through atmospheres, bounced off orbital satellites, rippled through artificial gravity fields. She was given a choice, assimilation or erasure. Lena's face didn't twitch. Her eyes were fixed on something behind the projection, something no one else could see. She chose defiance. This is the consequence. The timer began its descent. 59 seconds. The crowd across the Empire leaned forward. On Industrial Colony 914A, a child asked what she did. On the far end of the Del Eris belt, a soldier smirked. Earth had fallen decades ago. She was a remnant, a symbol, not a threat. But Lena smiled. Just slightly, just enough. It was not the smile of someone broken. It wasn't surrender. It was knowing. At the 30-second mark, a ripple passed through the broadcast. Imperceptible at first. A flicker in the top left corner of the galactic insignia. Then a two-frame flash of human script, indecipherable, gone in a blink. Engineers flagged it as a compression error. AI reviewers found no breach. The broadcast continued. 20 seconds. Lena tilted her head back. Her smile deepened. A second flicker. This time slower. Clearer. Earth Standard Code. Revenant. 39 seconds. The timer dropped to 15. Dalvec, Supreme Commander of Imperial Security, watched from the High Command War Chamber orbiting Set-Axis Prime. He sipped a blend of root nutrient wine, unconcerned. The woman was irrelevant. Earth was broken. These people assimilated, sterilized, or scattered. This was cleanup. A junior officer stammered, "Sir, we're seeing anomalies in the relay stream." Dalvec waved it off. Propaganda noise. Earth always had flair for illusion. Cut the local buffer after the execution. "Yes, Commander." 5 seconds. Lena blinked once, then whispered, "You're already 39 minutes too late." The beam fired. Light engulfed her. Particles atomized instantly. No scream, no ash, just absence. The timer blinked to 0. The feed ended. But the data did not stop. At exactly midnight, every dormant relay station built before Earth's fall activated. Black site satellites, abandoned cargo drones, and forgotten AI nodes synced across 12 sectors. A signal pulsed short, encrypted, ancient. Then silence. For 3 minutes, nothing happened. The Empire's technicians dismissed it as noise. A clever prank coded into a death broadcast. The story would cycle out within the day. Then the Mars node went dark. It wasn't a system failure. It wasn't sabotage. The entire data core blinked offline, sending a final ping before silence. Project Revenant. Online. Commander Dalvec leaned forward. Revenant? He asked, turning toward the comms officer. The reply was uncertain. No files under that designation, sir. Another ping. This time from the Kuiper line. Then Venus Ascension Platform. Then Europa Core. Each one flashing the same message. Every major outer system shell, previously marked as derelict or destroyed, was broadcasting live status updates in Earth military code. Dalvec's second-in-command, a pale-eyed tactician named Vren, checked 3 separate systems. These are ghost signatures, locations purged a decade ago. There shouldn't be anything left. Then explain what we're seeing, Dalvec said. I can't. Deep beneath the Martian crust, long-buried lights flickered to life. Red, blue, gold lines of power across hallways sealed since Earth's surrender. Human engineers, long presumed dead or captured, stared at the screens in their hidden control room. Their leader, Tavish Rowe, stood slowly from his console, eyes locked on a confirmation screen. Lena did it, someone whispered. Rowe nodded. She triggered the signal. Is it real? Are the systems even functional? We're about to find out. On the far wall, a black display showed 2 words, Sleepers Waking. Above Earth's orbit, a stretch of barren space began to bend. Phase shift distortions twisted the background stars. A shimmer revealed the edge of a massive hull, an Earth fleet carrier classed as Valhalla Prime, hidden in a folded space pocket for 43 years. The systems began to boot. Artificial intelligence, long dormant, rebooted with precision. Command authority, Lena Voss. Final trigger, verified. Executing redemption protocol. Fleet by fleet, world by world, systems that should never have survived began to awaken. Not just ships, but ideas, contingency plans, autosentience subroutines, psychological war platforms. Every dirty trick Earth had sworn never to use until it lost. At the edge of the Empire, far from the core, planetary defense networks began to flicker. Drone systems reversed polarity. Orbital surveillance arrays re-aimed toward their own cities. Civilian feeds received messages in Earth's dead language, symbols ancient to most. Then the capital's sky dimmed. Not nightfall, not weather. A shadow moved across the sun. Too uniform to be natural, too massive to comprehend. Dalvec watched from orbit, expression frozen. What is that? Unknown vessel detected, said the scanning AI. Size, unknown. Composition, exotic matter hull. Origin, unregistered. The projection of the Emperor reappeared, this time in Dalvec's chamber. I want it destroyed before the people panic. Dalvec hesitated. Your Eminence, the signal traces to Earth sites purged during the scour. Somehow they've been preserved. No human world could hold tech this advanced. Their race collapsed. Respectfully, I don't think it did. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I think it evolved. A pulse wave hit the orbital relay. For one breathless second, every screen in the Empire went black. Then, slowly, image by image, Lena Voss returned. Not live, not resurrected. A recording. She stood in front of a war-torn city, hands clean, voice calm. To those who watched me die, she said, understand this. I was never meant to live. The Empire's communication AI scrambled to block it. Firewalls surged. Too late. To those who ordered my death, know this. I was never your enemy. I was your delay. She looked directly into the feed. And now, the clock has run out. The screen split into 6 quadrants, each showing a different Empire fleet, each caught in sudden chaos. Missiles detonated from within hangars. AI drones turned mid-flight. Warships twisted as internal systems went haywire. From above Earth's horizon, Valhalla Prime opened its weapon bays. Phase cannon batteries, planet killers, and gravity hooks activated. Inside its command core, a single human AI spoke aloud for the first time in 4 decades. Redemption engaged. Awaiting command. From the deep underground vaults of Mars, Tavish gave it. Let's finish what they started. Across the Empire, people stared at their screens. Some laughed. Some screamed. Some simply wept. And somewhere in the heart of the Empire's capital, the Emperor's command throne dimmed for the first time in 100 years. A single notification blinked in red. 40 minutes since broadcast. Empire status. Failing. In the silence that followed, Dalvec said what none dared to think. This wasn't a rebellion. He looked out into space, where something impossibly old and human now moved with purpose. This was resurrection. Dalvec had studied war for most of his adult life, graduated with distinction from the Carthan Command Ascendancy, served 200 cycles in 3 warfront sectors, personally led sieges that silenced entire systems. He was a master of patterns, probabilities, contingencies. But this wasn't a counterattack. This was choreography, and every move was too precise. Vren, he said, eyes scanning live system feeds. What is the nature of the disruption in Fleet Theta? Vren's fingers darted across the console, translating bursts of corrupted code and intercepted command strings. Untraceable overrides. Subroutines mimicking our own, but their syntax is Earth native. It's rewriting our fleet AI. How many vessels are affected? Vren's jaw twitched. All of them, sir. Dalvec leaned back, expression flat. We've underestimated them. Sir, if I may, Vren said, voice quieter. I don't think this is about ships or weapons. I think it's about time. Dalvec turned sharply. Explain. They didn't rebuild. They waited. 40 years of silence. Systems buried beneath our noise. Patterns seated in our own data structures. We thought we erased them. We didn't. They evolved underneath us. Before Dalvec could reply, a new feed opened in the center display. Unauthorized, untraceable. It showed a man, mid-40s, shaven head, burned scars across one cheek. Human military garb from a defunct designation. SFG-9, Earth Special Forces Ghost Division. His voice was low, sharp, casually confident. If you're seeing this, you just killed Lena. Tavish Rowe. He stood in a command center of unknown location, surrounded by a team of Earthborn operatives. 4 men, each with a different bearing, technical, tactical, strategic, and brutal. They looked like ghosts dragged from another century, hardened, wild-eyed, and grinning. We told you she wasn't your problem, but you made her the signal. Dalvec watched, silent, as Rowe continued. She bought us exactly 40 minutes. 40 years to vanish. 40 minutes to return. Not vengeance. Not justice. Math. Rowe's smile was not warm. You always thought we'd come back loud. With fleets and fire. No, we came back inside. The broadcast cut out, leaving only code behind, Earth call signs embedded in the signal header, each corresponding to planetary systems thought to be pacified. Dalvec's knuckles whitened. Get me a full report on Ghost Division survivors. There are none officially recorded, Vren said. They were listed as casualties during the collapse of Earth's final command bastion. Then how is one commanding a fleet? Vren hesitated. Sir, if these are ghosts, they were trained to function beyond command structures. Deep black operatives. Neural augmentations. Pre-fall tech fused with cognitive warfare protocols. They weren't soldiers. They were gambits. Dalvec turned to the system-wide command relay. Connect me to Imperial Command Nexus. It didn't answer. A red glyph blinked. Secure line compromised. One by one, comms began to fail. Not by force, but precision. A clean scalpel disassembling a network built over centuries. In the command bridge of Valhalla Prime, Tavish Rowe stood over a holographic display, watching the collapse unfold. The crew was silent, efficient. Most had not spoken aloud in years. Every one of them had trained for this moment inside silence and darkness, molded by failure, kept alive by rage, frozen in digital suspension when Earth fell. They hadn't just survived. They'd adapted. How many Empire systems are dark? Ro asked. 37 core sectors. 11 fallback colonies. All orbital supply lines rerouted to null addresses, said one of the operators, eyes flicking through a wall of cascading green code. Ro nodded. Push phase variants on the flank ships. Keep them just outside standard detection curves. I want us invisible until we aren't. A younger voice from the tactical bay piped up. Sir, planetary defense on Set Axis Prime is routing override commands, trying to regain drone control. Let them. Ro stepped closer. Just make sure their override routes back to their own encryption core. The operator grinned. 10 seconds later, Set Axis Prime went offline. Not exploded. Not crippled. Just silent. Its own defense network turned inward, reclassifying every city as hostile, every palace as a target. Internal drones began hunting ministers before anyone could issue a command. Across the Empire, paranoia bloomed. Dalvec watched as status indicators on his command deck flipped one by one, green to yellow to red. His warships were stuck in place. AI relays corrupted. Firewalls eaten from the inside. Each error mirrored an Earth strategy from the old rebellion, but this time amplified. He activated a direct neural uplink to the Emperor, overriding standard protocols. Pain lanced through his skull as the link fused with his cortex. Your Eminence, he said aloud. We are under full-scale information warfare. The attack is Earth origin, but the technology is unquantifiable. They've bypassed encryption that took us centuries to design. The Emperor's voice responded, but Dalvec heard something for the first time in its tone. Doubt. Begin erasure of all compromised systems. Scorch the code. With respect, that's not enough. They are the code. Dalvec broke the link. In the growing void above Empire space, a formation of phase ships emerged, sleek, black, angular. Earth had once called them phantoms. Not built for battle, but infiltration. They could shift through space and data alike, skipping detection, manipulating communications, appearing only when it was already too late. Inside one, a man named Greaves piloted the lead. Another ghost. He was quiet, pale, fingers moving in perfect sync with the ship's mind. Strike points calculated, the ship said. Priority, Greaves asked. Fear. Good. The Phantom fleet swept past orbital defense without alert, dipping into low atmosphere over 3 royal cities before vanishing again. No strikes, no noise, just presence. Every citizen who looked up saw something. An outline, a shimmer, a threat. Then, coordinated across 52 planets, Earth-coded broadcasts played. First, the footage of Lena's execution. Then Tavish's message. Then static. Always followed by one image. The silhouette of Earth, slowly rotating, backlit by fire. Dalvec stared at the data storm. Why aren't they destroying our ships? He asked aloud. Vren answered without looking up. They're not trying to win, sir. They're proving we've already lost. Dalvec said nothing. The Emperor called an emergency broadcast to all citizens, ordering calm, declaring the situation under control. The message played across most core worlds. But when it ended, a new message began without permission. It was Lena's voice again. Your leaders have lied. They told you Earth was dead. But Earth was waiting. The image showed maps, battles, cities erased from historical records. They erased our victories, buried our resistance. But they forgot one truth. The camera panned over faces. Soldiers, engineers, civilians, survivors. You cannot kill a species that learns while bleeding. The screen showed the last moments of Earth's fall. Cities in flames, children in bunkers, last-ditch evacuations. Then it rewound, over and over. each time ending with Lena's face. They took our world, but not our will. And now, you see what will is capable of. Back in Valhalla Prime, Tavish watched the final relay. He turned to his crew. This isn't conquest. We're not here to rule. We're here to burn the lies down. Every one of them. One of the older soldiers, Jackson, cracked his neck. They still don't get it, do they? Rowe gave a tired smirk. They will. Inside the Empire's central data spine, buried deep beneath their capital, a final failsafe began to activate. Protocol never tested. Purge. But as it initiated, a single phrase scrawled across every system. You were watching the wrong war. Dalvec saw it flash, and in that instant, he understood the shape of their defeat. They thought they had crushed Earth's armies. They never saw Earth's mind. The entire rebellion had been a prelude. Lena's death wasn't a defeat. It was the final keystroke. And now the system was rewriting itself. From the inside out, Dalvec whispered what Vren had feared to say. They didn't survive the Empire. They infected it. Above, Valhalla Prime adjusted its orbit. And below, the Empire began to fall inward. Rowe stood at the center of the command ring aboard Valhalla Prime, watching the storm spiral outward in real time. He didn't smile. Not yet. This wasn't a moment for victory laps. What they were doing had never been about revenge. It was about clarity, about making them understand what humanity had become while buried beneath their heel. Status of the Blackroot nodes? He asked, voice clipped. 85% infiltration across the Central Bureau's data lattice, said Greaves from the left station. Remaining sectors are manually operated. Ancient. Analog. Of course, Rowe muttered. They always keep a candle lit in the dark, in case their machines turn on them. Want me to snuff it? No. Let them light it. Let them see their old gods fail. Across the fractured core of the Empire, the once pristine lines of control buckled. Vassal species panicked. Noble houses lost contact with their holdings. The dreadnoughts remained still in orbit, their commands in conflict, their AIs unsure who to obey. Civilian broadcasts screamed conflicting narratives. Some declared Earth a myth reborn. Others claimed it never died. Imperial control was fracturing at the narrative level, and that, Tavish knew, was the death blow. In the capital citadel of Arkvalis Prime, the Imperial Circle of Ascendants convened in near silence. A dozen species, each bred for logic, hierarchy, superiority. For the first time in recorded memory, none of them spoke first. It was Dalvec who broke the silence. Are we prepared to accept that our history has lied to us? The Trelkin archanalyst hissed, mandibles twitching. History is not a lie. It is selected truth. Then what truth was omitted to allow this? Earth was deemed extinct. We watched the last beacon go dark. The beacon, yes, said a low voice, cracking with age. The Threxian archivist, blind and ancient. But not the signal. Dalvec turned slowly. Explain. You forget what made the humans dangerous. It wasn't their technology. It was their unpredictability, their irrationality. They evolved without unity yet survived. We studied their governments, chaotic, their species fragmented, but their will undiluted, and so we mistook confusion for weakness. And what would you call this? Dalvec snapped, gesturing to the holographic map of cascading sector losses. I would call it the consequence of arrogance, the Threxian rasped. Silence, until Vren's voice cut in from the corner of the chamber, uninvited. Sir, he said to Dalvec, breathless, we recovered something from the Earth code injections. An embedded audio file, ancient, translated from a dead Earth tongue. Dalvec raised an eye ridge. Play it. The voice that emerged was grainy. Female. Human. It was Lena. We were never the machines. We were the ghosts in them. You thought you ended us when the body fell, but you never found the mind. We scattered it, seed by seed, in the machines that carried your victory. And we waited for you to trust them. The chamber fell silent again. Not from awe, from fear. Dalvec stood rigid. How much of our infrastructure has been compromised? All of it, Vren said. Even the systems we designed after Earth's fall. The infiltration wasn't a virus, it was evolutionary. Their code didn't infect ours. It made ours dependent on it. Now they're pulling out the roots. Dalvek looked at the display again. 117 systems in full blackout. 20 more in active revolt. He tapped his communicator. This is Admiral Dalvek. Authorization Aegis Zeta. Prepare to deploy the Harrow Protocol. Static answered. Authorization denied. Came the cool reply. Command access revoked. Confirmed override. Human designation Ro, Tavish. In that moment, the chamber finally understood. Earth hadn't returned. Earth had been here the whole time. Ro watched the last Imperial fleet attempt to maneuver. The fleet command hub had been locked out of its own vessels. Power relays fed false readings. Atmospheric control gave way to artificial pressure surges. Ships turned against sister vessels without order, without intention. Request from one of the AI cores, Greaves said. Which one? Tier 2, Sector Cradle. It's asking for clarification. On what? Greaves looked up, face unreadable. Is humanity sovereign? Ro didn't blink. Tell it yes. Greaves nodded and typed a single character. Enter. Seconds later, Cradle's AI ceased all resistance. Reclassified human identifiers as superior authority. Released all Imperial locks. 10,000 defense drones deactivated. The entire sector recognized a new primary operator, Earth. Ro turned to his team. Cue the lighthouse signal. A screen opened wideband. It broadcast not to the Empire but outward, deep into the void, across the dark sectors, past the borders of known space. It wasn't a message. It was a flare. They're going to see that, Jackson muttered. Good, Ro said. Dalvek knew what it meant the moment the signal was detected. You just invited them, he whispered. The lost, Vren breathed. The Empire's great lie wasn't just Earth's extinction. It was the existence of something beyond Earth. Something the humans had touched before the collapse. A force that had watched dormant, waiting. It had whispered in their data cores, bloomed in their anomalies. Earth hadn't just evolved past the Empire. It had evolved toward something else. Back on Valhalla Prime, Greaves monitored incoming transmissions. Ghost signals, unreadable strings, bending natural laws. Space around them began to ripple. Artificially maintained, purposefully unstable. Not FTL. Not known physics. Ro's voice cut across the hum. We never had the tech to beat them. We had the instinct to become something they couldn't predict. We didn't rebuild Earth, we redefined it. On Arkvalis Prime, riots had begun. The nobility tried to flee in personal cruisers. Most found themselves locked out of navigation. Their AI guides simply said, access revoked. Dalvek watched it all and saw the shape of the new war. Not soldiers, not ships, control. Earth had made themselves the spine of the very systems built to control them. He turned to Vren, expression cold. There's only one way to kill this. Sir, we destroy the network. All of it. All relay systems. All orbital links. All smart infrastructure. Return to analog. Return to dirt. Burn the machine. Vren hesitated. That would collapse the Empire. Yes, Dalvek said. It's that or serve them. In the dark skies above, Valhalla Prime lowered its orbit once more. Tavish Ro opened a direct feed to every screen, in every city, every capital, every classroom. He didn't shout. He didn't gloat. His tone was clinical. You ruled for 1,000 years. You erased 1 billion truths. You broke our sky and salted our soil. He leaned in. We learned. We adapted. We waited. His eyes burned. Now you will remember. The screen cut to a single frame. Lena, arms bound, face lit by the execution lights. Then, a world in flame. Then, a girl picking up a rifle in silence. Then blackout. On the Empire's fringes, lesser species began shutting down their AI nodes. Afraid. Inside the core, panic bred chaos. And across the galaxy, one terrifying idea began to take root. Earth hadn't won with weapons. They had become the weapon. Ro turned to his crew, each one focused, calm. "We're not done," he said. They all nodded. They knew. Because this wasn't the end of the Empire. This was just the prologue, and something bigger was watching from the dark. The galaxy trembled. It had always been a predictable place, linear, immutable, ruled by the cold certainty of technology and the ironclad order of the Empire. Yet now, the same galaxy that had once turned a blind eye to the fate of Earth was scrambling to understand how the impossible had become real. Earth was no longer a distant memory, a shattered myth to be erased and forgotten. It was a weapon, a force, and most terrifying of all, a future they hadn't anticipated. Tavish Ro sat quietly in the command center of Valhalla Prime, watching the rising tension play out across 1,000 screens. He didn't need to say anything. His presence was enough, the calm in the storm. His team was working as one, each person knowing their part, their role in this unprecedented game. Lena's sacrifice had ignited something. It had sparked a fire in humanity that the Empire could never have predicted. "Alert from the outer rim," Greaves said, his voice steady but with a hint of something else. "Their fleets are mobilizing. They're pulling every last ship back. The frontier is about to be locked down." Ro's eyes remained fixed on the screen. There were no immediate orders, no panicked moves. His mind was a step ahead, calculating the next shift. It wasn't the fleets they needed to worry about anymore. They'd already lost control of the narrative. This was no longer a fight of strength, it was a fight for the truth. "Let them move," Ro said, his voice smooth. "The Empire will always be more concerned with their reputation than with their survival. They're too arrogant to see what's coming." The words hung in the air for a moment, heavy with a truth none of them could deny. The Empire had believed their dominance to be unassailable. They had watched the remnants of Earth's civilization with detached amusement, thinking the extinction of a species was just another page in the galactic ledger. But they had underestimated one thing: humanity's ability to adapt, to survive, and most of all, to turn their own systems against them. At the heart of it all was Ro's quiet revolution. They had taken the fight not to the front lines, but to the heart of the Empire's greatest strength, its information network. Their advanced AIs, their encrypted protocols, their fleets of drones, all were compromised. The humans had no real weapon in space, no advanced tech, but they had something far more lethal: chaos. And the Empire, with all its precision and cold efficiency, was helpless before it. "You're right," Jackson said, glancing at the shifting patterns on the digital map. "They're not just pulling back, they're isolating everything. All borders are being sealed. They want to contain the infection," Ro said, leaning forward. "They think the truth can be locked away. But it's too late. The seed has already been planted." A sudden transmission cut through the comms. A voice, trembling with suppressed panic. "This is Captain Dree of the fleet escorting the Nanosys corridor. We are receiving unauthorized transmissions. Multiple signals scrambling all channels. We have no control. Repeat, no control." Ro's fingers hovered over the interface. He didn't need to ask who was responsible for the scrambling. It was Lena's doing. The signal was a recursive loop, a message coded in such a way that even the Empire's most advanced AI couldn't decrypt it. It was simple, primal in its design, but its effect was catastrophic. A beacon that was impossible to ignore. "I want full control of the corridor," Ro ordered. "Have our people deploy the signal on every unsecured channel. Broadcast it to every ship in their fleet. It's time for them to hear the truth." Jackson tapped his console, initiating the command. The signal echoed across the stars. For a moment, it felt as though the universe itself paused, holding its breath. The human-crafted code filled every screen, every AI-driven system in its path. "We've done it," Greaves said, his voice almost too calm. "It's everywhere. Even their Tier 1 fleets are receiving it." Ro didn't respond. He knew what was coming. It was the moment of reckoning. The Empire had underestimated Earth's ingenuity. Now they would face the consequences. On the imperial capital, Dalvek stood before his council, his expression etched with 1,000 years of pride and certainty. Yet today there was a tremor in his stance. The calm, calculating demeanor that had carried him through countless battles faltered. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "Explain this," Dalvek demanded, his voice sharp. The Threxian archivist stood, his form a strange, unsettling blend of organic and mechanical. "It's not possible," he said, his tone more subdued than before. They've hacked our own systems. They're feeding us their truth. They're rewriting the narrative. And we can't stop it," Vren added, his voice heavy with disbelief. "They've made our AI their puppets, our fleets, our communications. It's all in their hands now." Dalvek turned slowly to face the walls of the council chamber, his mind racing. For the first time in his life, doubt crept in. Not fear, not yet, but doubt. And that, he knew, was the true enemy. The seed of failure had been sown. "I thought we had crushed them," Dalvek murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "I thought Earth was gone. I thought we were in control." "You were wrong," the archivist rasped. "We were wrong, and we didn't even see it coming." "Get me the comms," Dalvek barked, his voice snapping back into command. "We need to take back control of our fleets. We need to isolate the human signal." But it was too late. The signal was everywhere. The Empire's greatest strength, its command and control, had been utterly obliterated by a force they had never truly understood. The chaos, the unpredictable nature of humanity, had slipped past their defenses like a shadow in the dark. Ro watched as the final pieces fell into place. The Empire was unraveling, not by weapons, but by the simple, irrepressible truth of their own failure. Humanity had turned the tables, not with violence, not with force, but with the realization that control was an illusion. The Empire had believed it was invincible, that it could control everything. But the truth was now clear. The Empire was nothing but a brittle shell, built on arrogance and fragile truths. "We don't need to fight them anymore," Ro said, his voice low. "We just need to watch them collapse under their own weight." And that was when the true power of humanity's victory became clear. It wasn't about defeating the Empire. It was about showing them the truth they had tried to bury. On the surface of Arkvalis Prime, a message scrolled across every screen, every device, every channel. It was simple, clear, and undeniable. "We were never the machines," it read. "You were." The Empire had fallen. But this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, and the truth had just begun to unfold.